Yo, Flexcast, we are back with our next guest, man. And this is a person that I've been wanting to speak to for a while. She does a lot of cool things in the cannabis space. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell y'all a little bit of what she does, and then we'll get into it. Go ahead.
Hell yeah, thanks for having me. So grateful to be here. My name is Shayda Tarabi. I'm the co-founder of Restart CBD, but we also sell other cannabis products. I'm a born and raised Austinite, and I'd like to think that I am helping drive cannabis legalization forward in Texas, my home state. I want to see Texas adopt better cannabis laws and policy. Okay. So I have a cannabis podcast called To Be Blunt. I do Restart and like to advocate and educate all things cannabis, as well as be a big time cannabis consumer.
Let's clap it up for Shayda, man. We got her in the building. And the first question that I wanted to ask you, Shayda, that I was just like so curious about, because cannabis is not something that has the best reputation, right?
For sure.
So when you started to get passionate about it, I'm sure there were some people close to you that were like, what the hell? And I was curious what that time was like for you and how you got passionate about cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely. So fortunately, I have a lot of support from my family.
Okay.
Sorry, Dad, calling you out. As a kid, I remember like going into our garage and I would smell this smell that I would come to later find out at parties was cannabis.
Yes.
My dad was consuming. So for me, when I was like growing up and getting kind of curious, I definitely wasn't like, hey, everybody, like we're kosher about this. It took some time. But ultimately, when I started to share that I was consuming cannabis, my parents, I wouldn't say were like, again, supportive and encouraging, but they were also understanding, I think, which is kind of like what helped pave the way. I did not get into the industry though until kind of 2015, 2016. I was in a car accident here in Austin. I was hit by a vehicle as a pedestrian and I broke my pelvis.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So I was thrust into traditional Western medicine using opioids, steroid injections. And so it was at that point that my cannabis consumption went from being more recreational to more wellness and medicinal. And so that really was how my family started to help kind of, transition the conversation from being more of just, a thing that maybe you do sometimes when you're listening to live music here out and about in Austin to, wow, how can cannabis and the properties of cannabis really help with inflammation, pain management, anxiety, sleep. Those are obviously a lot of like reasons people take cannabis. And so I feel super grateful because my family has been pretty supportive for it the whole time. And so, actually our business I own and operate with my two younger sisters.
Okay.
And we're next door to my dad's insurance agency. So he comes in and he waters our plants. It's really sweet.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, really wholesome cannabis family brand.
You're very lucky because that's not the case in every family.
Absolutely not.
You're very blessed. Wow.
Yeah. So I feel because I've had the family support that it's even more empowering me to like be so public about it, because I recognize that people don't always have that ability to be open and transparent with their families. And so I really wanted to, run as fast as I can with it. So that's why we're really involved in advocacy, really involved with policy work here in the state. Obviously there's a lot of legislation and regulation and just kind of things that deter and interact with, running a business and just in terms of compliance. We want to make sure you're doing things the right way by the state. And so it's always been really great to have my parents be like, we got you. I got the jump back just in case something goes sideways. And, again, I don't take it lightly, but feel very encouraged because I have that support to be very public, advocating about cannabis, especially in a state like Texas where we don't have full adopted cannabis laws.
Not yet.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Hopefully.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You are so well spoken. I love hearing you talk.
I really appreciate that. Girl. Thank you.
I can only imagine how your podcast listeners feel. You speak very well.
Thank you.
So your podcast, To Be Blunt.
To Be Blunt, yes.
Unique name.
Yes.
So you have a lot of cool guests. Clearly, you provide a lot of psychoeducation.
Yes, for sure.
You've clearly got some interesting guests that come on there as well.
I do.
So talk to us about your guests, how you got started with your podcast and how it's going.
Yeah, so actually last week I hit 3 years of podcast production, which is
Hey,
crazy.
clap it up for that. We're on year 2, so we're trying to catch up.
You're in the thick of it. You're doing it. The hardest part, as y'all know, is like consistency.
Yes.
And so I started the podcast right when the pandemic kind of was kicking off in March, we kind of learned about it. So June is when I started. I started it because we lost the ability to go out and network. I love networking. I love educating myself so I can educate others. I can educate my audience. I can educate my community. And just thought, hey, if I can't go to the people, I'm going to bring the people to me. And so started the podcast and really have used it as an opportunity to, again, educate myself as well as build my network and have conversations. So originally the podcast started out to me, I'm a marketer, so branding is really important. So to be blunt, I thought of, yes, blunts, cannabis, right?
Hell yeah.
The tip of a spear. I used to work in corporate marketing, and so the tip of the spear was always thought of like sales marketing, like you are the tip, like people are, like you're bringing people in, like that's the point of interception. Correct. And so to me, the blunt, the sharp edge was like, okay, I'm going to talk about honest conversations. I'm going to talk to real operators. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, and we're just going to have a conversation. And so it started out being very marketing focused, but as I'm sure you guys understand, just putting a podcast on, there's so many different dynamics to how people's stories, you know, ebb and weave. And that was really, you know, part of the understanding that I would come to find out producing the podcast was, oh my gosh, I have to talk to people who are growing, doing the cultivation. I have to talk to people who are doing, you know, the science, the testing, making sure that it is what it says it is in the package, right? If you're selling a consumer package,
you can get in big trouble.
Yeah, you want to have consumers' safety and efficacy.
Correct.
And so really just trying to get a lot of different guests to help have those conversations and also prepare me as a Texan for what other states have done. So I love talking to California, Colorado. They've been legal for a while. But also talking to new states. Minnesota just went recreation last week. Rhode Island's getting ready. Alabama, shockingly, is opening up their
before Texas. What?
Alabama has a pretty open medical marijuana program, and Texas is very
shocking.
Infinite, unfortunately. So, but yes, like learning about those things, it's just like you would have never thought that state would be doing this, that, or the other. And so it's just cool to pick up and learn. I know. I just read that piece of news yesterday, and I was like, damn, Texas.
And they beating us in football right now.
I know. But
it's like we're in last place.
Unfortunately. But I think
we got to get crazy legs
the hemp
out the
side
way.
of the industry, we do actually have a lot of opportunity and a lot of products that we can offer people. I think I was just, you know, chatting kind of before this. You can still get high in Texas.
Yeah.
And I don't think people fully realize that. So thanks for, you know, having us on the podcast to talk about the options, because people need to know. Education always is key. So
yeah, definitely. So I wanted to first just shout you out for being a unicorn and Austinite.
Oh, thank you.
That is so nice to meet another fellow Austinite.
Are you a unicorn too?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. We'll just talk high school and elementary school after this.
Yes, definitely. So also, I wanted to know, so you operate Restart Canna, Restart Canna, right?
Yeah.
Which educates people about cannabis. How did you and your sisters come up with that idea?
Yeah, so the accident was really the interception point of my life, where I was like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I really love Shark Tank. I think it's such a cool show
that's a great
to see.
Show. Hell yeah.
You know, people from all walks of life. What?
I always thought it was.
Shark
I
Tank
thought
is
it was a
amazing.
show that came on once a week because people wanted to see the sharks biting people.
No,
that's
You're
Shark
talking about
Week.
the show where
That's
they pitch.
Shark Week.
The entrepreneurial
The
show. Yeah, they're
entrepreneurial show.
pitching.
So this is the show where entrepreneurs pitch your ideas to
Not
billionaires.
Shark Week.
Scrub Daddy.
Yeah.
Yes,
There we go.
She knows. She knows.
Okay.
So you're sitting there,
Shark Tank
you
is a
know,
great show.
you're watching it. You're like, those people there, they're coming up with really interesting business ideas. What is my business idea? I don't know. And then the accident happened, and I would not say that is what nobody should want to get in a car accident or any type of accident, obviously, but, you know, make lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
And so when that, you know, intersection of my life happened, it was kind of okay, well, I am now being exposed to this product, this category, this industry. I can lean in or I can, you know, put it to the side and move past it. And we just really leaned into it. And so we were fortunately, you know, kind of on the precipice of hemp legalization, both federally and in the state of Texas. We were one of the first license holders. We're now a 5-year-old business. We have a brick and mortar in North Austin by the Domain. We do e-commerce. We ship all over the United States.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So it's one of those things, like, I didn't necessarily anticipate getting into the industry, but again, I feel very called because I'm a Texan, because it's with my family. This plant is really personal to me, just because I don't drink alcohol either, so I love cannabis as an alternative.
I'm much more of a smoker than a drinker.
Yeah,
I'm much more of a smoker,
you know, it's a
than
better
drinker.
vibe for me, and so there's absolutely a recreational approach to it. But I also see the medicinal, the wellness side, and love that we get to have a brand that gets to connect those dots for people, especially in our hometown and in our home state, and just being a welcoming, friendly, educational, you know, women dominated brand, and people just, you know, love to learn, and we love to be the people that are helping connect those dots and educating them. So
that's awesome.
I love that.
Last question I got to ask you: are you a blunts or? I know it's called To Be Blunt, but are you a blunts or papers person?
Okay, so truthfully, to be blunt, I stopped smoking cannabis 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
You did?
When I did, I definitely prefer joints.
Okay.
I also prefer cones. I'm not necessarily
I like cones.
A roller, but I like a good blunt every
I
now
love a
and
blunt.
then. Like if someone else is
Love a
doing it
blunt.
and bringing it to a party,
Yeah.
sign me up. But yeah, sore subject. I very much miss smoking.
Really?
And it's been interesting getting adjusted to using edibles. Like obviously when you're smoking, you can take a puff, you'll feel it more immediately, and then you can gauge if you want to continue consuming. In my case, now I'm like, okay, I'm off work in an hour and a half. I want to be high then. I need to eat the gummy.
You gotta
in 30
calculate
minutes.
now.
So you're doing long math.
And I'm not great at math. I majored in marketing and communications, so it's been a little interesting learning curve. But I think it goes to show that, again, there's not a right way to do cannabis.
Not at all.
For people who think like, oh, it's just smoking, it's like, that's great if you love smoking. I want to present products to you, but also there's edibles, there's topicals, so many other ways. There's non-psychoactive. If you don't like THC, you can do CBD. So it's just getting people comfortable and familiar, which is what I love to do. So great question, but yes, no longer a smoker, unfortunately.
Awesome. Shayda, can you tell people where they can find you online?
Yes, they can find Restart at restartcbd.com. We're Restart CBD on Instagram, and we are Restart CBD on YouTube. Then you can find me at the Shayda Tarabi on Instagram for more cannabis education, and tobebluntpod.com for all my marketing and cannabis content. But
And we'll put all these links under the video. I want
yeah.
everyone to clap it up for Shayda.
Yes.
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Appreciate it.
Flexcast. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with our next guest.
Yes.